So for today, distributive property tells you that you can do something along the lines of that and that. I'm being a little vague. Can you write down what you think the answer to this is if you do that distributing of the two? I'm trying to see where you are. Do you remember this? All right, so I'm going to pair you with somebody. I could have you show it to me. Frankly, that means I got to check 30 papers, and it's really hard. It takes a long time. So I'm going to have you, comparing with the kid sitting next to you. So it's going to be really simple. These two rows is the person right across from you. In this case, obviously, it's going to be like diagonal. Okay? And this is the part where cell phones that are out need to go away. I know you're not using them, or I'd be yelling at you. But set them aside, put them in your backpack or something, and last part of the hour, you can take them back out. These two rows, it's the person straight across, which works great to here, and then all of a sudden you don't have anybody. I let you either work with the girls in front of you or the guys and girls behind you, okay? And then over here, it's going to be, you two are obviously right next to each other, right? So you guys compare. And then you two compare, and you two compare. All right, write down what you think it is and then compare with them.
Oh yes, I forgot to distribute the two.
2n plus 2 times 3 is 6. Raise your hand if you had 2n plus 6. Yay! You get a thing called the distributive property. Okay, so that's pretty easy, right? You're in algebra 2. So this is algebra. And I get, you definitely could forget some of these things. You know why? Last year was geometry, and we were mostly back in school last year. We had like one period of time where we were out, but the year before that, it was pretty much all out of school, okay? And that means it was really hard to learn stuff, and that's when you were taking algebra. So some of this stuff, it was really hard to concentrate because you were learning this at home, okay? So if there's things like this that you don't get, math is different than other subject areas, because if you don't get this, then how in the world are you going to be able to do that? Like, if you can't do an easy one, then what happens when there's like variables in both parts? I mean, you got to get the basics first. Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to fix those basics, the stuff from algebra, but it's so critical because it all builds. And if you miss a whole year of math like Algebra 1, what happens in Algebra 2? It'd be kind of like all of you guys skip over Greek 1 and you're going to go to Greek 2 and just start with that. You're going to feel like a little lost at the beginning? Yeah. Okay, so some of you are in that situation. And I don't know yet who in here is awesome at Algebra 1 and who in here has forgotten all of Algebra 1. Okay, so there's different kids, and I won't be able to tell for a couple days, and then I'm going to give you this 20 question thing that's on basic algebra, and then we'll find out. And if you're really like, oh my gosh, I have forgotten everything, then if you work hard at the beginning and I'll help you, you can come up and ask me. If you get those fixed, if you get basic algebra fixed, and there's really only 20 things I need you to know, just 20, and then you'll probably already know some of them, then if we can get that fixed early, your life is going to be so much better. All right, so let's talk about this one. What happens when there is more variables? Well, I think most of you know 6 times 2 is 12. But I think some of you are going to not be sure what to do with the a's. Max?
A squared.
You are correct. 12a squared. And then some of you are going to be like, crap, we have to multiply? Well, an easy one like that, you should be able to double things, right? So 17 doubled, well, I guess I can go like this, 17 times 2. Or if you want to know a like shortcut way, you can do the 10 times 2, which is 20, and you can do the 7 times 2, which is 14, and the 20 and the 14 make 34. Yeah, you should eventually been able to get to 34 there, right? And since it says minus, this is going to be minus 34, and I just did it wrong on purpose. Why is my answer slightly wrong? Remember, I just did 2a times 6a, and that was 12a squared. Yes, sir?
You need to put the a down at the end.
Yes, this was 2a. 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 2a times the negative 17 made 34a. Math is really about being really careful. And I want you to realize that in the real world, it matters sometimes. It matters a lot. Yes?
So, how can you multiply the 2a times the negative 17, but the negative 17 doesn't have an a by it? Or is that only
Good
when
point.
you add?
Only when you're adding do they have to be the same. So you can do 8 times 3a all day long. You just go 24a. Okay? It's if you wanted to add them, they'd both have to have a's. If I wanted to add these together, then I'd need them both to be like terms, it's called. Okay, so that would make 11a. All right, if I times them, would they both have an a? Then that'd be 24a squared. Okay, so let's do a few more like that. You ready? Write this one down. 9m times 2 plus m. I think most of you knew that that's what you do, but it'll get tricky when you got to put the m's together. What if there aren't any m's? And write down what you think that is. I'm going to pause for a second, and I want you to compare with the kid next to you.
18m plus 9m squared.
Plus 9m squared. Perfect. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Sweet. All right. Would you agree that combining things together is an important skill? Like, can you put those together or not?
Yeah.
Nope. Unless you thought that they were both... Oh, wait, dang it! Yes, you can. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make one of them an N and the other an M, and I confused myself. Yes, you can put those together. So what would that be? 6M. Okay? But I was trying to make it a different letter. If this had been an N instead of an M, congratulations, Mr. Server, you confused yourself, then you can't put them together now because they're not what? Like terms. Okay, good. Could I times these two together? Yes. When you're timesing, you don't need to be alike. You can times anything. Okay, so I can times this. So what do? Well, you go 2 times 4 is 8. And can you put an M and an N like somehow together into some weird combo letter? No. So what do you think the answer is? MN. Very good. Ideally, you put them in alphabetical order, but it doesn't even matter. It's not illegal to say NM. Okay. So what if I have two of the exact same thing? 2N and a 2N. If I times them, I'll get one answer. If I add them, I'll get a completely different answer. When I put them in parentheses like this, can you tell what I want you to do? What? Multiply. Go ahead. Write down what you think it is. Compare with the kid next to you. See if you get the same thing. So I was rambling about how math is really picky because the real world is really picky. Do you get if Apple's warranty, written warranty, said that if your phone, within the first, say 30 days, if your phone dies, we will give you $1,100 and a replacement phone? That they actually have to do both. It says and. You can get caught on a technicality. Do you think they meant that they would give you $1,100 and a replacement phone? No. They probably meant they'll give you $1,100 or a replacement phone. But if your phone died and you walked into the store, you'd be able to say, it says right here, you're going to give me $1,100 and a replacement phone. Okay, because it's a technicality, but they got you. All right? And that happens all the time. Companies make an oops like that, and they just have, sorry, you have to do what you said. And so, all right, so moral of the story, math is really picky. So 4n squared was your answer. And if you just said n, it's not right. And it's a big difference. Okay, so the 2 times the 2, that's easy. Then n times n makes your n squared. All right, so what if I had added them though? 2n plus 2n. Isn't that the same thing? No, it's different. For adding, I like to think of it this way. 2 narwhals, you know what they are? Kind of look like a dolphin, except they got a big point on the front of their head. Okay. 2 narwhals plus 2 narwhals. What does that mean? You have 2 narwhals and you add 2 more narwhals. What do you got? 4 narwhals. There we go. Why isn't it squared? You're not timesing them. Okay. So, one of the things I want you to understand is I get you're going to make some mistakes. And right now you're really rusty on math. Is there anybody in here who spent the summer doing math? That'd be pretty rare. Okay, so you guys are going to be really rusty and you're going to be like not sure. Please, when there's work time, which there will be today, come up and go, I'm not sure if it's this or that. Just ask. You'll get in the groove after a while. And I'm not going to think you're dumb for asking. I am not. I'm going to think I'm far more worried about the kids that don't ask me anything. Because sometimes that means I don't know what's going on and I'm afraid to ask. Okay? So be one of the kids that asks me stuff. Because that shows you care. And it shows that you're trying. Okay? And I almost never have a kid who asks lots of questions who gets a bad grade. Like people think it's the other way around. Like, I'm going to look dumb. You're going to look dumb if you don't ask and then you fail the class. Okay? Ask me. Almost every time that kid then learns the thing and then they do fine on the test. Okay? So don't be shy. And if I'm ever not clear on something like this, like let's say, I don't get what you mean, just ask me to repeat it. It's totally okay. Say it a different way and I will. Okay. So what's your assignment for today? It's going to be 2 things. One is about the distributive property, where basically you got to be able to take something like 2n plus 7 and multiply it by like 5n. And I wrote it backwards. What the heck? It's the same thing. This just gets multiplied in both places. And the other part of the assignment is doing stuff in the right order. Do you remember that PEMDAS thing? PEMDAS, parentheses are first. Exponents are next. Multiply and divide and then add and then subtract. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. For right now, would you just multiply this one out and then check with the kid next to you, see if you get the same answer as them? Ian, you guys already check? Go ahead, check. Cyril? Ian? Check. Compare each other. If you haven't already, check with the kid next to you. Jack, can you get the door for us? It's just a few kids in the hall, and I think this might start to get a little louder as more kids come from the lunch area. All right. 5n times the 2n, that makes 10n squared. And then the 5 times the 7 makes 35. This would be a very easy mistake to make. It's not just 35, it's 35 what? There you go. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Cool. So, that's distributive. What if there was 3 things on the parentheses? You distribute it to all 3 parts. We're not even going to do this one, but do you get that we would just go this times this times that, and that times that? You just distribute it to all of them. Does that make sense? All right. I'll tell you, this one would have been 2a plus 6 times 2 is 12, and then the 2 times the negative n minus 2n. Could any of those 3 go together because they're alike terms? No. So we leave them just like they are. Okay, so that's distributive. Now, what's the other thing I have to teach you for today? It's more complicated, and it's just this PEMDAS thing. Would you please write it somewhere? And this one really boils down to just, can you just do one thing at a time? Like, do you get, if you have a giant, some huge task, like, I don't know, you got to write a term paper. Can you just like do one thing at a time? If you could, it's hard to get even started sometimes. But if you just go through and do the title of your term paper, like this is what I want to write about. And can you maybe write this opening sentence, like what you're trying to like say? And then maybe just one little step at a time, you can make it better. So this is like this. 8 parentheses, 2 minus 1 parentheses, 4 plus 1 quantity squared, end parentheses. My gosh, that's complicated. Yeah. You're in algebra 2, not algebra 1. So problems are a little harder. You're a little older, you're a little smarter. But if you just go down this list and do one thing, just one thing. The temptation is for kids to go, it's that, and then I square it, and then I times it by this, and then I subtract that, and you get lost. It's too many things. Just do one thing, just one. If you were going to start this, do you get it says parentheses? Parentheses are at the top of the list. So I got to look and see, are there parentheses? Yeah. But what if there's 2 parentheses? You do the inside ones. Did you know that? So I'm underlining it right there. That's the thing I have to do first. Some of you probably want to distribute. You can't. You can only do one thing, and that is the parentheses. And if there's 2 parentheses, you got to do the parentheses that are inside the parentheses. So what is the very first thing? 4 plus 1. That's easy. What's that? 5. Now, I'm not mean enough to say that you have to rewrite the whole problem after one step. I would just scribble that out and put a 5. And then, frankly, you need to do it all over again. You need to ask, is there any parentheses? Well, yeah. And I'm on the inside parentheses, and I should be doing the 5. But what does the 5 need to have done to it? The squared, that's the exponent, so that's what you do next. So what is 5 squared? 25. Now is the moment where it's going to get too messy. Everybody, please rewrite this now. And if you weren't with me so far, write the blue stuff I'm writing right now, please. Minus 1 parentheses. And you can do that 5 squared, which is 25. And it goes right there. And don't forget that end parentheses. Math is really rewarding of careful people. The people that are really careful. And you all know when there's times you have to be careful. Like if you're trying to get something out of your eye, you naturally are going to be really careful because you don't want to like stick a pin in your eye by accident trying to get an eyelash out of there. You're really careful around that. Well, treat math the same way. You got to be really careful with it. You can't just do it really quick. It's not going to really work out so well with your eye or with math. You got to be really careful. Okay, so now I got to go through again and say parentheses. Is there any parenthesis? Yeah. If there's more than one parenthesis, I got to go to the inside parenthesis. Is there any exponents that I need to do to that? Nope. Is there any multiply I need to do to that? There is a multiply. What is times by that 25? Yeah, the -1. Good point. It's a -1. Okay, so now I'm going to rewrite this part, and I'm going to say 8 parentheses 2 minus 25. Because isn't -1 times 25 -25? Now, you could have just said, well, I just times the 1 and the 25 and make it 25. And there's just still a negative there. It works either way. But do you get, now we're getting down where it's actually pretty easy. I wouldn't mind if you did 2 steps at the end and just got the answer from here. But if you said, I did it all in my head and I got the answer, which is negative, 400, I'd be like, there's no way you did that in your head. You have to show me some work, okay? So I'm this far, and I'd be fine with you doing the last 2 steps in your head. Can you do what's 2 minus 25? -23. And then that's got to be times by 8. Just so you know, we're going to be pretty generous in here about using a calculator. Okay, I know some of you guys, that's easy. I can do -23 times 8 in my head. And for most of you, and me too, I don't really want to do that in my head. I'm totally okay with you using a calculator to do the -23 times the 8. Don't feel bad about it. Just you can either use your iPad's calculator. You don't get out your phone and do it, because you know what happens then. You bust your phone out and you're like pretending even to use it as your calculator, like, oh my gosh, I have 3 texts that I missed from my friends, and all of a sudden you're busy texting and then I'm yelling at you. Okay, so don't use your phone for multiplying or whatever. But the iPad for sure has a calculator on it, so I would use your iPad's calculator. Okay? All right, so everybody go ahead and do that. Use your calculator on your iPad to do negative 23 times 8. Or just do 23 times 8 and know that the answer is going to be negative. Go ahead, do it. And write down what you think it is, and then I'm going to ask you to compare that with the kid next to you. Do you know how to find the calculator? You should. Down, but oh, you haven't got your downloading yet. All right, so then you need to go to your self-service. If you don't have the calculator on the iPad yet, go to self-service, which is where you get all the apps from, and get the app called Calculator. You're going to use it in here a lot. If you need that, please ask. In fact, I'm going to make it really simple. Would everybody please call up the calculator on your iPad right now? And that'll smoke out the people that don't have it or don't know how to get it. Okay? So you want to use self-service. Do you know how to use self-service? Can you show her how to use self-service? He's got the cap. Yes. Yay. Thanks for letting me know. Calculator's good. Got that? Thank you. Where did you get that from? Is that on the internet? What's that? What's different than everybody else's? That's good. 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 Or something? Oh, it's downloading. Okay, good. Got the cup. Show me the cup. Good. Yeah. Can you show me? Do you have the calculator yet? Cyril? That's great. Can you show me how to get it from self-serve? Yeah. Good. Can you show me that you have the calculator, just long distance? Thank you. And you know your iPad, try to remember, just download it. Yep. And did you get it? Yay, and? You got it? Okay. All right. So, help me out. I don't even know what the answer is. Amelia, what'd you get?
Negative 184.
Can anybody verify negative 184? Raise your hand. Oh, did she say that right? Okay, good. Yay. All right. What was hard about this problem? The order. It's all about the order. It's the only thing that makes these hard, is what order you do it in. Do you get tons of kids want to do 2 minus 1 because it's just sitting there and they want to just get it over with? Can ya? No, you can't. You can't just do stuff that you see and looks like, ooh, I want to do that part. The order matters. All right, let's do another one. We have 3 minutes to lunch. Yeah, we're gonna pause the video here. So welcome back from lunch, and now the big finish of the hour. I want to give you one last problem to try to do carefully, one step at a time. So write this down, please. 9 minus 2 parentheses 4 minus 3 parentheses 2 minus 1 parentheses squared, right there. All right, now if I just said do it, I seriously bet, I'm serious, if you weren't careful, we'd probably have 3 people out of the whole room do it right. Even though it's just adds and subtracts and a little squared in there. Because it's about doing it in the right order. That's what it's all about, okay? So I just want to ask you first, in that PEMDAS thing, which I would write down at the top of my page for my homework, what am I supposed to do first? What's the P? Parentheses. Is there more than one parentheses? Yes, so you do the parentheses that are in the parentheses. Do you see it?
Yep.
Everybody just do that one thing, and I'm not going to be so mean as to say you got to rewrite the whole thing yet, because 2 minus 1 is really easy, and it was just 1. Now what's next? Parentheses.
Exponent.
But wait. We got to do parentheses first. So I'm looking for parentheses. Do you see parentheses? You might be thinking, but we already did these parentheses. They're still there. Know why we don't take them out? Because we have a 3 times that right there. And what's supposed to go first? Times or subtract? Multiply or subtract? Well, look, multiply goes way before subtract. So do you get that right here? This has to be next. Now, why isn't the squared coming next? Because I got to finish this whole parenthesis first. Before I'm done with the parenthesis, then I can do the exponents. I'm finishing that parenthesis. So the 3 times 1 is 3. So now I'm rewriting. 9 minus 2, no, you can't do the 9 minus the 2. Some people were taught wrong. They were just taught go from left to right. That's wrong. Doesn't work. I'm rewriting my problem, except 3 times 1 is 3. There. And then I'm going to square right there. Do you get? This is going to be all about doing 1 or 2 maybe steps and then rewriting it. Telling you, if you do that, you'll get these right. If you don't do that, you don't have a hope. You try it all in your head, it's going to be wrong. Guaranteed. So I go through it again from the top. Is there any parentheses? Yeah. So I got to do them. See that right there? What's the 4 minus 3 give me? 1. So I do that part. And now that's a 1. Now, is there still parentheses? Yeah. Because I haven't done the stuff to it. Can I just do whatever I want? No. Next, I got to look for exponents. Is there an exponent that's on that parenthesis? Yup. What's 1 squared? It means 1 times 1, so it's 1. And then I'm going to rewrite 9 minus 2. And you get there's a little times that you don't see, but it's there. Times 1. Because anytime there's a parenthesis, that means times that parenthesis. Okay? And then, what's left? I only have 2 choices. Can I now do it from left to right? No, you can't. You got to do it in order. Is there any parentheses? No. Is there any exponents? No. Is there a multiply? Yes. So do the multiply. All right, so here's my multiply. And then 2 times 1 is 2. So now it's just 9 minus 2. And now it's as simple as 9 minus 2, and it is 7. Any of you beat me to that? You had 7 as your answer? All right. So these are about being careful with the order. All right. So now I want you to open up the worksheet. There is one worksheet. It is your first homework assignment. I am going to cut a few problems off of it. Why? Because I believe in having small but almost everyday homework. Okay? But it'll be smallish. Because if you do something, it's so much better than nothing. So I want to make them small, doable, so you won't be like, oh, math, it takes me forever. I'm not even doing it. I want it to be small, so you can be like, oh, I can do my math. That's only going to take me like maybe 10 minutes, and I'll check it off my list, and you'll feel good about doing it, and then you'll be able to do it. Okay, so let's get that homework cut down to smaller size. I can't show it on the screen for you, but I know that you have an iPad, and you can open it up right now. And there's this thing called Solving Number 1 worksheet. All right? And it's only got 2 problems. Well, that's kind of cheating because it's got an A, B, C, D, and an E on both of them. Okay? So what we're going to do is just A, C, and E. So you may cross off the B's and the D's on the worksheet.
What's the worksheet?
There's only one in there.
What folder is it under?
It's in today's folder. Today is September 8th. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be really clear. Whenever there's only one folder for each day, and inside that folder, there's usually 1, maybe 2 PDFs, but one of them will be notes, and the other one is the worksheet. There's only one in today's folder. Am I right? I think there's only one PDF in today's folder, I think.
There's 2.
There is?
Yeah.
Well, let me look and see what the other PDF is. This is probably the notes, but let me check. Yup, That's the notes. So you want the thing that specifically says in its title, homework. And worksheet. If either one of those two words is in it, homework or worksheet, then that's the one. And the first problem, just so you can be sure you're on the right page, the first problem, number 1A, starts like this. 5.8, that means 5 times 8, minus 4 plus 10.13. All right, so let's do this one together because we're skipping the B's and the D's. Okay, so let's do A. Is there any parentheses? No. Is there any exponents? No. Is there any multiplies? Yes. So we find all, and this is higher level, all multiplies and divides are tied with each other. So people that know about the left to right thing, that's only if things are tied. Now these are both multiplies, so it makes it really easy. But if there had been a multiply and a divide, some people think multiplies always go first. Nope. If it's multiplies or divides, they're tied, and so you go from left to right. So I like to do my PEMDAS this way. PMDAS, and these are tied, and these are tied. Multiply and divide are tied. Multiply is not always go first. It's whatever's on the left. If you have an add and a subtract, they're tied. So it's whatever's on the left. All right? Lots of little rules in math, but you know, there are times in your life you got to be really careful, like when you're getting something out of your eye. You're going to be just naturally careful. We'll try to do that in math. 5 times 8 is 40. Minus 4 plus, I'm doing my times. 10 times 13 is 130. I can do it in my head because it's just timesing by 10. I move the decimal over. Now, can I just do it in any order I want? No. Add and subtract are tied. You have to go left to right. So then, if they're tied, left to right, what's 40 minus 4? Help? 36. So it's 36 plus 130. And now, thank heavens, it's down to a simple question. I can just do that in my head. 166. Now, one of the things I want you to get used to is sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, I'm going to have the answers posted. And so some kids will ask, like, does that mean I'm cheating if I'm looking at the answers? No, that's why I put them there. I can hide them if I want to hide them. There's this thing that I can do in Schoology that makes it hide. But if it's there, it's because I want you to look at it and make sure you're doing it right. So that brings up a good point. Let's say you had an answer of 156, and you look at the answer key and it's 166. Can you just change your answer? Well, yes and no. You can't, let's say that, you realize the answer is actually 176. You can't just go like this because your work doesn't match up. It's fine if you realize the answer is 176, but you got to go back and figure out where you messed up. And then sure, you can change it then. But I think it's 166, isn't it? Didn't anybody else get 166? Okay, good. All right. And then one last thing I would ask on all your problems, would you please circle your answers? As I am grading yours, it just makes it so much easier. Kids' work can be all over the place, but then if they end up circling their answer, I can at least find it, okay? So can you please circle your answers? So B's and D's we're skipping. So then what's the next one I got to do? C. So letter C is, you've already got it, so you don't have to write it down, right? But I'm writing it down. Plus, and what's first? Parentheses. Which of the two parentheses are first? Well, they're tied. What happens when things are tied? You go from left to right is correct. So this one is the left of the two parentheses. I can do that first then. 9 minus 7 is 2. How about 18 minus 9? That's 9. There, I did my two parentheses. 2 steps is it. Then rewrite it. So now I'm going to rewrite it. And I got 2 plus 9 squared is in my parentheses plus 5. If you just do 2 steps and then rewrite it, I'm telling you, it'll be so much easier. I look at kids and they try to do 3 or 4 steps, almost always get it wrong then. At most, do 2 steps, then rewrite it. Now, who knows what's next? Do I do the 2 plus 9? Nope.
No.
What should be first?
Exponent.
Exponents. Parentheses are first, so I'm going, okay, so I'm in the parentheses. Then I go, okay, then is there any more parentheses? No. Exponents? Yes. So 9 squared, 81. Remember how we can do 2 steps before we rewrite? So then, I'm still in the parentheses, so 2 plus 81, that's easy, 83. Plus 5, sweet, I got to the end. 88. Circle it. Get the idea? That's all there is to it. I cut it down. You only got like 5 questions left. This is doable. You can use a calculator. Now, have you ever heard of first impressions? This will be my first impression was when you met me on the first day. Okay? My first impression of you as far as a math student really will be, will you just do your homework and turn it in? That's fantastic. Next level, did the kid actually check it and then they fixed it so they actually have it right when they turn it in? That's even better. Takes you an extra 2 minutes to check it. So please start off on make a good impression on your first day, and please strongly recommend check it with the key, turn it in after you checked it, and you'll have a perfect paper, and you'll be guaranteed to be starting off with an A in here. It's not that hard when I made it small. So now it's on you. If you need individual help, please come up and ask me for the last part of the hour here. If you just sit there, it's such a wasted opportunity. Please ask me for help.